Hi, I'm Jennifer Beckstrand, and this is Jennifer Beckstrand's 10-Minute Book Club. Hello, readers. As you know, I've changed the name from Jen Spencer's 10-Minute Book Club to Jennifer Beckstrand's 10-Minute Book Club, which is a lot more of a mouthful. But I hope you'll continue to join us and tell your friends. It's going to be just a really fun transition. We're still going to do a lot of sweet romance books, and we're probably going to pepper in a few inspirational romance writers in there too. So stick with us. Tonight we're interviewing Carol Bradley, and she has some amazing books, and she's done a ton of research, and I just admire someone who can do that much research. Anyway, her newest book is The Making of Margaret Dashwood, and it's about a side character from Sense and Sensibility, so I know you're going to love hearing about it. Remember, if you ask a question or leave a comment in the comment section below, you'll automatically be entered to win Carol Bradley's The Making of Margaret Dashwood. Also, please go to my website and sign up for my newsletter. And now I'm really excited to introduce Carol Bradley. Carol, thank you so much for being here.
Hello. You know what? I already blew it because your face disappeared and it said that I had to that I had to be recorded.
It's okay. We can start again.
This is real good. I thought, where'd your face go?
Oh, great. Well, so tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into writing.
I came into it later in life. I had always wanted to write, took creative writing classes, even in college, and that. And then I just raised my kids. And when my youngest was in third grade, then I thought, well, I need to do what I want to do, and so I thought, what do I really want to do? So I want to write books. So when she was in junior high, then I went and got a degree at BYU in creative writing, English creative writing. So I got
Good for
my
you.
MFA. So that was fun. And I graduated in 2009. So I wrote a novel before I got in the program while I was waiting. And then I wrote my thesis novel also. So I came out with at least two completed novels, but I finally found a publisher who let me write what I want to write. So I write historical fiction, and they published my first novel that I had written. I'll show you. Anyway, so this
And
was in 2014.
who's your publisher?
They're called Widow Publishing. They're a small independent publisher.
Okay.
And so I wrote, they liked this novel, and then I wrote the sequel. So those are the two.
Wow, those are
And
beautiful covers.
I liked them. And so those are biblical fiction, actually.
Okay.
And so anyway, and my thesis novel is this one, and it's about a 16th century England during Henry VIII's time. So that was my thesis novel.
Okay.
So that publisher also liked it and published it. And then in 2020, I published this one. And this is a historical about my ninth great grandmother, Anne Hutchinson, and her daughter who was taken by the Indians.
Oh, so that really, it's based on true story.
Yeah, but hardly anything is known about her, so I had to weave her story together. So that came out in 2020, and that came out the month before the pandemic started. So all of a sudden I had all this time on my hands, and I thought, well, what do I want to write next? And Jane Austen has always been my go-to. So I love her writing. I love the movies. Anyway, so one time I was watching the 2008 Sense and Sensibility. So I turned it off and I thought, well, whatever happened to Margaret? Margaret Dashwood?
Oh, yeah.
So I got out Sense and Sensibility and I read it straight through. And it seemed like Margaret kind of got short shrift. She wasn't considered all that promising. She was young, she had imbibed a lot of Marianne's romantic sensibilities and all that. But at the end, it says that she was um, possibly supposed, she was old enough then that she could be supposed to maybe have a lover. And that's the way that Jane Austen ends it with her.
Oh,
And so I just thought, well, I'll never know the end of her story. And at the same time, I was reading um, a biography of William Wilberforce, who in England, he was one of the main forces to bring about the abolition of slavery.
yeah.
And I tend to compartmentalize history, but then it hit me. Those are the same time periods
Oh,
that they were written in, that Jane Austen lived in and wrote her novels. And so I realized that there's all this stuff that going around at the edge of her novels that, dealt with the abolition of slavery, the Napoleonic Wars, and all these, that she lived in a time of real upheaval. And so I thought, well, I've mainly written about real people. So what if I tried something different? And I tried writing about took a fictional character from a well-known novel and put her into real people like the Wilberforces
oh,
and
wow.
kind of merged their stories. And so I just started writing, and it just first I researched, then I wrote. It just flowed out so fast.
Wow.
Almost couldn't get the sentences down. I'd never had that experience with writing before.
I
I'm
wish I'd
kind
ever had that experience.
of, but it was so interesting. So it was different enough that I didn't know if my publisher would maybe want me to change it up this way.
Mhm.
And so, but I sent it to her, and she was the owner and the editor of this at Daughter of Van Hoek. And half an hour later, she said, "Send me more than the rest of it," because I had sent her the 3 chapters. And then within a month, I had an offer. She's really excited about it. I didn't know that she was a huge fan of Jane Austen. And so I got to work with her over the last 9 months, and um, we edited. And so in the meantime, while I was waiting for all the edits, then I went to England and actually traced all the steps of Jane Austen. So
Oh,
we went into Chawton, and anyway, it was really, really fun.
oh, I
So
love that.
yeah, so
Fun
and
trip.
then yeah, so the book came out, and this is it.
Making of
So
Margaret Dashwood. Oh, I love that cover. Wow, you
yeah,
have beautiful
great
covers.
about it. I like looking at the lesser known characters of Jane Austen and imagining how their stories might have turned out.
Yeah. So what's the next one?
It's actually from taken from Emma. The story of Jane Fairfax, she doesn't really get her story told, so I tell it from her point of view.
Oh, love
So,
that. You mentioned that you had a Jane Austen adaptation that you didn't think you were going to like that you ended up loving. Was that the Sense and Sensibility or was it something else?
it was the Netflix Persuasion. It came out in 22,
Oh,
but
with
it's
Dakota some
yes, with Dakota Johnson.
Dakota Johnson.
So
Did you like that? I couldn't.
I watched it out of curiosity, and then I watched it again, and then I watched it again, and it's absolutely hilarious. The girl who plays Mary, the hypochondriac, her sister,
Yes.
every line is hilarious. And
I think that's true. That's true. She's very well written.
it was it was delightful, and now I really like it. And the music is incredible,
Hmm.
absolutely beautiful. But my favorite line was what she says about her father. And she says, "Vanity is the beginning and end of my father's existence. also the middle. And I just love that line.
Cute. And in the book too, I love her dad because he's just so awful. You just, oh, but yeah, you just love to kind of not like him very much. Last question. You're stuck on a desert island. What three things would you take with you? I sprung it on you.
I guess books,
Books.
books, food, and a hammock.
I like all of those. Do you have like a favorite book you'd take? Would it be, I've got my complete works of Jane Austen. I read that occasionally.
There's one I read as a child that whenever somebody says, "What's your favorite book?" and it's Elizabeth George Spear, and it's called The Witch of Blackbird
Blackbird
Pond.
Pond.
I've read that over and over, and you know how some books they I can read them and forget them, and not remember. But that book, sometimes I just think about a book or see the cover or whatever, and it brings the whole book back to me.
Mm,
And for me, that's the one. It was
mm.
just so vivid about a young girl who didn't fit in her time period. I love that book.
That is a lovely book, and it's a lovely romance
Yes,
too.
it is.
Well, Carol, thank you so much for being here today. I've just had a wonderful time. Readers, go and check out The Making of Margaret Dashwood. Did I get it right?